Hello and welcome. My name's Rose Smith from AbsoluteSoulSecrets.com. Now I'm here today because I had a suggestion in the comments from Ilya R. Thank you very much for this suggestion. She's very interested in Joe Biden's health, and this is something that I hadn't thought about before and I didn't have a clue about, and I thought, well, that's interesting, but I've got no clue about it. But anyway, what happened last night, as what often does happen with me, was I was woken up at 4 o'clock and I had a vision about Joe Biden's health. It was just a very quick download, and basically what I could see was a long straight path ahead of me. On either sides there were a lot of hills and sort of mountains. Usually that means challenges, but he had a straight path between all of the challenges. So, you know, anybody his age, you would expect something to be happening, but it's not much in his case. Then I could see, while I was looking at the path, then I could see the path go up into the sky and into heaven. So I don't normally see that, but it's like his end of life. And it was just really clear cut. And it was very pleasant. It was a sunny day, and it just felt warm and secure and comfortable, the whole thing. So I think he's actually got really good health. So because this is the first vision I've ever had about him, in fact, I thought I'll have a look at the astrology as well and see if I can come up with, some sort of plan or some sort of idea about, to bolster what I'm saying about the vision. So it's not a plan as such, but you'll see what I mean. I'm going to show you now what I've worked out astrologically around his health. Now, there is a technique. Don't ask me what it's called because I forget. But a long time ago, a friend of mine who is probably about 20 years older than I am, he told me about this. And basically you can divide your life up into quarters, and each degree of the wheel represents a certain amount of time. And because the zodiac wheel is 360 degrees, we know there's 360 degrees there. Now, normally if you were looking just at Joe Blow, the average person, you would just take the average life expectancy for that country. In the US, it's 76, which is very low by Western country standards. Australia is 82, we're at number 8 in the world for life expectancy, but sadly US is at number 46. Okay, so 76, he's already 77, so he's already lived longer than the average. Okay, but looking at his natal chart, we can see a few, things have happened. And here in his 9th house, the house of the higher mind, he has Chiron. Chiron is the wounded healer. So he carries a deep spiritual wound, and it's in his 9th house of the higher mind. Now, one of the things that, people, and someone even said it to me this morning, he's got dementia problems. I know it appears that way. Sometimes when he talks, he misspeaks, but so does Trump as well. I've heard Trump not making sense at all in some conversations. But with Biden, what it is he's actually a stutterer. He has a disability. And because it's here at the top of his chart, it's very public. It's in his speech. He has trained himself that in his normal everyday speech, it doesn't come out. But when he's tired or he's stressed, he has to do, whatever training it is that he's taught himself. I suspect it's a breathing technique. And so that mucks up his speech a bit. He is a stutterer. So it's really not fair when somebody has a disability to be making fun of their disability, in my opinion. So the other thing is that the wounded healer is always trying to heal themselves, and the way that they do it is through helping other people it's through compassionate service, and he is trying to overcome his own wounding by his public service. But part of that is that everything that happens to him plays out on a public level, like when this deep wound is activated. So his son died, his wife died in a car accident, and his daughter, and of course that was very public. And then his son died in 2015, and all of the things around his son taking drugs, and which apparently his son overcame that particular issue. But all of those things play out in public, you see, and that's because it's here in this 9th house at the top of his chart. It's all public. So we can work out, we know that his son died in 2015, so we can work out that if we take a guesstimate life expectancy, because this life expectancy here, 76, he's already surpassed it. And I suspect this includes a lot of poor people, well, not suspect, obviously, it includes a lot of poor people that don't get proper medical attention. That's why it's so, part of the reason why it's so low. But of course, he's a rich white guy, so he's going to get really good medical attention. Okay, and so we can take a guesstimate. I'm guessing 88 only because it's the first number that popped in my head. It's not based on any reality whatsoever. He could always have an accident or something untoward could happen, and he could die before, he could die after, you know. So, but taking that as a guesstimate and saying that he's got 88 years here on his zodiac wheel, we can then divide it up, and halfway is 44 years, okay? Then when he was at the top of his chart here, he would have been around 66 years old when his 9th house stuff started to be activated, and Chiron was activated again here at 2015. We can then work out 10th house, which is all about work, status in the community and career, and it's the kind of career, it's not just normal everyday work, because that is down here, normal everyday work, and he's got Uranus in that house, and Uranus is very rebellious and loves to do very innovative and eccentric things, and it's also the house of health. And so we could expect that regarding his health, he's going to try all sorts of alternative methods and medicines and therapies that other people wouldn't normally try, but he would try any number of things with Uranus there. Okay, so he's actually probably pretty well blessed with technology and doing things in his own quiet sort of way, but doing them in a different way to how other people do it. So we can see that was around the midpoint of his life. But coming back to here in the 10th house, this is the vocation. This is the mission in life up here. And we can work out roughly that this house here, 66, he would have been around 66 when he started, and it lasts for 7 years and 6 months approximately in here. So we know around 2015 that he was in this stage here because it was very public about his son. And so if you add 7 years and 6 months onto 66, you get 73 and a half, 74. This is very approximate. All of these numbers I'm giving you are very approximate. So that's around 74 years of age, and then he would have gone into his vocation. So then he's been working towards fulfilling his life mission. And we can see, because there's 360 degrees in a circle, if we divide those, find out how many degrees are there, and then times them by 2.44 months, we'll come out with he'll be in this stage up until 80 to 81. Now that confirms what he's already said, because he's 77, and he said if he's elected, he's only going to do one term. So that brings him up to 81. So he's on the ball, like as far as I can see there, on that point. Then around 80, 81, 82, he goes into this thing with friends and networks. He could be a mentor to a lot of people. And then the last few years of his life, that lasts for about 4 years and 3 months, being like friends and networking and mentoring other people and really helping bring the young ones up through the game. Then the last few years of his life lasts about 4 years before he passes away, around 88, I'm guessing. Okay, so his health overall looks pretty good. I didn't feel anything at all when I was focusing on him this morning. The only sort of issue around his health is the stuttering that I'm aware of, that I will focus on this again, but this is very first vision I've had about him. I'm not picking up anything much at all around his health at all. So, he could even go longer than 88 years, but this gives you an indication, especially he said he's only going to do 1 term. That makes me think this is pretty close to being correct. So there's no reason, just because he's got a speech disability, that he can't do the job of president, in my opinion. The other thing I just wanted to mention here, when we get to this stage of, the end of life, you see he's got a stellium here of Venus, Sun and Mercury. And so he's got a bit to do at the end part of his life. And prisons, institutions, hospitals, things like that. So it might be that the last few years of his life, he has some sort of connection again with those. I had a look at his website. He actually has on his policies, his policy platform, he wants to reform the criminal justice system and base it on redemption and rehabilitation rather than punishment. Punishment doesn't work. A lot of criminals, not that I'm soft on criminals, don't get me wrong, I would actually ship them, the worst ones, off Australia. I wouldn't even have them on the mainland, seriously. So I'm not soft on criminals. There are some people that just cannot be rehabilitated, okay, but they're the worst of the worst. There are a lot of people that fall into crime because they don't have money, so they steal, they get in with the wrong crowd, they make unwise decisions, they've had a shitty childhood, whatever reason. There's lots of reasons for it. But what I'm saying is punishment doesn't work. And once those first, say, 6 or 7 years of a child's life are laid down in the personality, so the template of the personality is formed, it is difficult to change it. It can be changed, but the child really has to have someone that is a good person and that really wants the best for them, to help them overcome any difficulties that are laid down in their development, the first 6 or 7 years. So if the father disappears in the first 6 or 7 years of life, that goes straight into the neurocircuitry of the child, so all sorts of things like that happen, of course. But he's very spiritually based, with a stellium here in the 12th house, and so he will be leading a very quiet life the last few years of his life, and he's nowhere near that. He's out and about, he's got energy, he's probably got more energy than me. Not probably, he definitely does. So he's nowhere near his 12th house yet. So I think he's here, focusing on his life mission, and so he is well placed in that regard to make real meaningful changes in US policies right across the board, at home and abroad. Okay, so here in the 12th house, when he's doing this, the end of his life, that's like the inner sanctum. He's not going to be out and about like he is now, so he's got a fair way to go. And you can see also he needs to be careful, because he does have Neptune here in his 10th house of vocation, and that suggests that he's very idealistic. So Neptune in Libra are in fact here. And so very idealistic, and he can be gullible. Sometimes he's deceived. There's delusions. Sometimes people, he believes what people tell him. He takes it at face value, and they could be shysters, so... But he would have learnt those lessons when he was younger, I would imagine. But growing up, and certainly in his 20s and 30s, he would have had to learn that you can't always be idealistic. Compassionate service is basically what underpins Biden, and his spirituality is very important in his work. Okay, so that's it. I could just close my eyes and see if anything jumps into my field of vision. Now I can just see the mountains and the hills here that are the same. It's the same vision as I saw this morning at 4 a.m. and it makes it interesting. It's actually a beautiful landscape I'm looking at, and he's in this last quarter of his life, and I can see the sun shining. It's like sunset, and so the sunset is golden, apricots, purples, just a stunningly beautiful sunset as he continues down this very straight path. Okay, so that's it. I hope you found this helpful. Please give it a like, a share, leave me a comment. I'm only too pleased to answer your comments. Thank you, Ilya R, for your suggestion. This is a really good idea, I thought. If you do have any other suggestions of videos, live streams that you want me to do, please let me know. Okay, so I'll get on now with Capricorn, doing the horoscopes for November. Okay, thanks very much, and I shall see you all again soon. If you're new, please subscribe and hit that notification bell right now. Okay, bye for now. Thanks so much for watching. Please visit my website absolutesoulsecrets.com for all things spiritual. Have a lovely day.